I really like mini PCs. They're so cool. I mean, no, it's not as strong as an actual like full-on desktop graphics card, but this is smaller than an RX 7600, like significantly smaller than an RX 7600. I mean, yeah, it's not as powerful, but it is more powerful than something like the Steam Deck, which is relying on an older and, well, less powerful, because it's in a mobile form factor, wattage, older generation, all of that, kind of Ryzen APU. So Minisforum sent me over their UM780 XTX new mini PC. It's got a lot of cool features. Let's go ahead and show you what's in the box, and then I'm going to look at, first of all, quick review. Can it do every sort of just general desktop activity you need to do for a basic school or office PC, unless you have specialized apps that I may not be testing in this video? Yeah, it nails that. So what I want to look at is, on your lunch break, how does it game? There were two things that stood out to me when I opened up the box. One was this tiger sticker, and one was this thing, because at first I thought that was an M.2 slot, because it has the M.2 connector on this end, but that's not what this is. This goes into one of the two M.2 connections in here, and then terminates in an OCulink port, which I haven't even heard of, but I guess it's a lot like, you know, a Lightning connector or USB 4 connector, but has higher bandwidth, and could get you an external GPU without losing so much of the performance of the GPU on a really high-end stuff. You can see all the various connectors here, got tons of in-out, lots of mesh for cooling, venting, all of that. And now let's talk about the tiger sticker. So when you fire this thing up, this is actually a glowing square of RGB. And I first thought, okay, that's weird, it's just a random square. But then check this out. So this actually pops off with magnets. So the top just comes off with magnets. I'd never seen that on one of these little mini PCs before. So pops off with magnets. Here's your glowing square, and then you could easily get access underneath to the M.2 slots and RAM and all that if you want to unscrew those. And then this tiger goes on there. Specifically, I noticed there were these two little holes here. This sticker can peel off. We'll try it out yet. There's a couple little dots here, so I'm pretty sure we get our holes lined up with the dots. And then this just pops back on, and what's awesome here is I think that this would be fully customizable, so you could get your own cool little light up RGB design here. So really neat feature on this. But anyway, let's go ahead and see if this thing can game. All right, so I've tried it out in basic desktop stuff, and it's absolutely fine, no issues whatsoever. So basically now we're like, okay, you're on your lunch break, you want to play some games. I've got this set up here. I have my microphone set here. I'm here, so I'm about the same distance from there, so I don't really have like a way to measure fan noise for you, but sometimes these little mini PCs can get a little noisy on a fan, so I'm just gonna go ahead and, you know, have it on the desk here, and it doesn't seem to be absolutely screaming fan-wise. Like, if I'm not talking, I can hear a little fan noise in the background, but it's certainly not egregious or anything like that. Now this is Baldur's Gate 3, and I currently have it running at 1080p, although I do have FSR 2.2 at the quality setting. I'm so glad the game got FSR 2.2 update. It launched with just FSR 1.0. Let me go ahead and turn that back off for a second here. And we're gonna go ahead and go to the game's just medium preset, native 1080p resolution. And this is Act 3 of Baldur's Gate, this is actually my actual game save right now. I still need to finish this game, it's so long. Anyway, let me go ahead and reset the frame rate counters real quick. We're down here kind of in the upper 30s. So this is the Act 3 where people say, you know, performance can tank a little bit. It can run on my Steam Deck, but it's a little bit rough. But this thing is significantly more powerful than a Steam Deck. For one thing, it can run at a higher wattage. Right now it says it's drawing about 54 watts. You can go all the way up to, I think it should be set to 65 though, if it actually needed it. That's just reporting the GPU though. I'm not sure if that's a different setting. You can go into the BIOS. You could even go up into a 70 watt performance mode, which I didn't choose to do here. But the GPU built in here, the integrated GPU is a 780M, which is a 12 compute unit RDNA 3 based GPU, which is significantly more powerful than the I think it's 8 compute unit RDNA 2 GPU in the Steam Deck hardware. And also this can run, since it's not in a mobile platform, at a higher output, higher wattage total. Also, we have 8 actual physical cores running 16 threads on the 7840U, I think is the name of the one in here. But yeah, 8 core, 16 thread Zen 4 processor. So definitely powerful hardware here. And part of the issues in Act 3 of Baldur's Gate is CPU-related performance. It's heavy on both the CPU and the GPU here. So this is really nice because I'm able to get a pretty nice looking clean output here. By the way, I'm running an HDR on a 4K display, although it's currently set to 1080p, but it handles 4K 120 HDR through its HDMI 2.1 output, no issues whatsoever. By the way, this does have, I think, 32 gigabytes, two 16 gig sticks in here, but you can configure different options for Minisforum if you want. Anyway, if I did want even more performance here, we could try out FSR2 at the quality setting, but honestly, it seemed like we didn't necessarily have to. This gets a little more pixelation in motion, but it does resolve pretty nicely, at least when standing still, and it does look a lot better than the FSR 1.0 the game had at launch. If I restart the benchmark counter, looks like we are up more into the 40s more frequently, which is kind of nice, but honestly, I think being able to hit that clean 1080p native resolution output was quite nice. Let's go ahead and kick FSR back off. Again, back to the medium overall preset. And the other thing I wanted to look at is what if we decided to hit like a frame rate cap to 30. So what if we wanted to look for just smooth capped 30 FPS gameplay, see if we could get something like that going. So if we try just to lock 30 frames per second at native 1080p output, you know what? Did it turn off TAA because I cycled? I feel like it looks more pixelated than it should. I think it turned off TAA. Yep, anti-aliasing. Let's kick that back on. Sorry, TAA haters. The pixelation looks worse than the blur. It does. You can have your own opinion, whatever. Anyway, yeah, looks like we are locking to 30 FPS pretty nicely here. Not a perfect frame time graph. Maybe we could try the Riva Tuner statistics server, see if that could get a better frame time graph on it. But overall, looks like we're doing a nice job here, and again, because we're capping to 30, we're not even fully using the GPU, which can help it run a little bit cooler and quieter and all that. Let's go ahead and try out some even more demanding games. But yeah, it looks like I could definitely finish my Baldur's Gate 3 run on my lunch breaks. All right, it's Alan Wake 2, the slayer of modern GPUs, and this is the other game I'm actually playing right now, other than Baldur's Gate 3. And we're down in the teens, so that's not great. Let's go ahead and see what else we could actually do. The game did give a warning when it launched up saying that that we don't have 6 gigabytes of memory. Now, you could go into the BIOS and set different allocations of memory to the GPU, because again, in an APU, integrated GPU-based system, you're sharing system RAM between the CPU and the GPU, but I am reviewing this at its out-of-the-box settings. Currently, we're at native 1080p, and the low preset, kind of what it defaulted to. I went ahead and kicked off film grain. I like motion blur at low frame rates. I think it's a good thing. I could kick that off just in case that's eating into any of the performance at all. But I mean, we're still running pretty low frame rates here. So that's not solving the problem. What if we tried some FSR, go quality preset here? Now, to be clear, like, this is really just not the kind of game that's designed to run on an APU. Although, actually, with the FSR quality now, I mean, I get we're in the 20s, so I'm trying this out on a controller. I find that, like, lower frame rates are a little more tolerable on a controller. Let's go ahead and do a little run through the creepy theme park forested area and just get an idea for where our performance is at. A lot of this game is literally just kind of walking around. There is combat, but it's just every now and then. So you could play this game theoretically at pretty low frame rates, but a big part of its appeal is also the visual appeal. Although even at its low settings, it does look quite good. The upscaling here, FSR quality at 1080p output, not amazing looking, but overall, the fact this is even running at all, and I'm sort of able to play it on the little APU system, is kind of impressive, to be honest. Now, we're certainly not locking to 30 frames per second. Let's go ahead and see. So I do notice that we can go below the low settings and turn global reflections just off and SSR off. So let's go ahead and see if we make that further compromise, if we're closer to a 30 frames per second experience. Actually, well, let's see how we do in motion. Okay, so we're still dipping under 30 for sure, but we are closer to a 30 FPS average at least. Yeah, certainly dipping down. And some areas of the game run a lot better. These areas with all this foliage and you know, everything like that are very, very demanding. But, you know, it is technically playable, but I think I'll be holding off and playing this one not on the lunch break experience. We could try going down to FSR performance mode, but I have a feeling this... I mean, a 1080p output, that's really not great for the image quality. In motion, we're getting very, very pixelated, although, are we actually locking to 30 FPS-ish settings now? Pretty close. The 1% lows aren't perfect. Does this game have a frame rate limiter? I don't know if it has one built in. We have VSync, but that's, I think I'd have to set to 30 FPS. We could try to run one through... RivaTuner statistics server, but whatever. The point is, we're actually getting a 30 FPS experience. Granted, it's at the absolute lowest possible settings with FSR performance mode on, but this is Alan Wake 2. This is the slayer of modern GPUs. So, and, you know, we're getting a 30 FPS experience out of it at, you know, compromised image quality, but the game actually looks pretty good other than the pixelation from the upscaling, so kind of interesting, guys. I don't know. Let's try out a few other games, though. All right, so we're downloading a game that'll seem a little bit more fair. We're going to try out Hades, but then I also wanted to point out, so I'm on just the Wi-Fi connection, and I am getting up to, like, I have gigabit internet here, but it won't always, you know, get a full gigabit off of my network. But the point is, I just want to show that we're running on Wi-Fi here, not the plugged-in Ethernet, and it is getting fast download speeds, not having any issues with that. Anyway, let's pop into Hades and see how it runs a game that's a little more reasonable for an APU. Now, just for fun with Hades, I've decided to set the game to 4K resolution just to see what kind of performance we could get out of it. Looks like we are a tad under 60 frames per second. Man, my kids are noisy upstairs running around on the ceiling. Anyway, but I wanted to look at if you're playing more like APU mobile device friendly games, what sort of performance we could get out of this. And anyway, so we are near 60 frames per second at 4K resolution. Let's go ahead and say, what if we dropped down to 1440p resolution? Looks like we are now up to 85, 88 frames per second, all of that. So things looking pretty good. So again, if you're playing games that are more appropriate to the device and are still excellent games, I might add, looks like you can get a really great experience with these. So let's go ahead and do another bit of a maybe torture test or two that's less of what's appropriate to the device just for fun. And honestly, guys, it's been doing a good job. What do we want to try out? Like Starfield or something like that, maybe? All right, I like to test out Starfield in cities where the performance is generally at its worst. Here we are in New Atlantis. Looks like we're hitting in the 20s. But what are our graphics settings? Clearly too high, so let's go ahead and take a look. I was at the medium preset, but I went ahead and turned upscaling off. The game likes to default to really heavy uses of FSR2. So if I kick FSR2 on, and maybe drop down to, let's go to a 67% res scale. That would be basically the quality preset for games that follow the quality settings. And yeah, at 1080p, it doesn't usually look amazing. But hey, we are at about 30 frames per second now. And this is in New Atlantis. We are dipping a little below 30 at times. But in Starfield, the performance demands vary greatly depending on what you are actually doing. And it seems like, while New Atlantis isn't the most demanding in the entire game, these kind of city hub areas do seem to be some of the more demanding areas, and it is looking like we're able to hit just shy of 30 frames per second at these settings. Now, one option would be to kick resolution scaling just a little bit harder. Let's go down to 60% res scale. And at 60% res scale, looks like looking this direction might have been a little more demanding anyway, but yeah, we're, again, pretty close to a 30 frames per second lock, again, in one of these hub areas, dropping a little below 30 at times, but Yeah, fairly reasonable stuff. Let's just see what happens if we really wanted to push frame rate. What if we went down to the low settings, 50% res scale, leaving dynamic resolution on, variable rate shading on, give it all of the things, and go ahead and see what things look like. It looks like we're able to push more into like the mid 30s, upper 30s at times. I'm not sure that the hit we're taking to the visuals is worth making that trade-off. So for me, I think pushing higher settings and hitting more like 30, probably a little better than what we're getting here. But again, if we're getting playable frame rates in New Atlantis and a lot of other areas of the game play better, fairly promising for if you did want to play Starfield, as long as you have reasonable settings on the game. All right, well, I've fired up Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty, and this is in the new Dogtown area of the game, which can be even more demanding. And at first I was trying out the Steam Deck preset. So we're at 1080p, and I chose the Steam Deck preset but turned off upscaling, and I was curious how that would go. Looks like we're a little under 30 frames per second at times, so I'm gonna go ahead and kick over to the medium preset, and then make sure upscaling is turned off. And let's go ahead and see how this does. So down at the medium preset, yeah, still looks like we're around 30 frames per second. It can certainly dip below. And again, that's without any kind of upscaling. So looks like maybe kicking on FSR quality might be the way to go here to kind of smooth things out a little bit. XESS could also be something to play around with. But anyway, FSR quality, let's go ahead and see. Okay, yeah, that gets us to a healthy mid-30s kind of experience in this Dogtown area at medium settings. Totally playable, again, if you know what your expectations should be for something like this. Got a little bit of a loading zone stutter there, I think, kind of coming through that area. But anyway, let's go ahead and start shooting things and see what that does to the frame rate. Seems like it's overall hanging in there. And all right, so let's see, is there anything else we should test? All right, so the last thing we'll take a look at is what if you wanted to play like an esports game or something like that. Well, Modern Warfare 3 just came out, so I figured why don't we try popping that in here. We are running at native resolution 1080p. I'm not really paying that much attention, nor do I play much Call of Duty. But I went to the basic preset, and let's go ahead and see how we're doing. It's actually looking like a native 1080p is running right around 60 frames per second. Let me go ahead and turn on the actual frame rate counters for the benchmark run. And yeah, it's not looking like the frames are why I'm dying. It's just me not paying attention or having any idea how to play the game. So there's always that. Hey, got myself a kill. Looks like, yeah, we're averaging over 70 frames per second. Let's go ahead and just kick on a touch of FSR as well. So let's go to upscaling FSR 2.1, and let's go to the quality preset, apply those settings. Because, you know, in a game like this, I might not care so much about the beauty and more about the performance. So, got myself a kill. Look at me go. All right, that's a guy just randomly crouching there. That's interesting. I absolutely torture tested this thing in the latest AAA games, and it held up surprisingly well. Although do keep in mind, I think the best gaming use case for a system at this level is certainly in the less graphically demanding titles. Similar to how I feel about a Steam Deck, right? It's like, it's cool that it can play a lot of the biggest AAA games, but that's not necessarily its best use case. Either, you know, indie games, older games, less graphically demanding games that it really can run at high frame rates and resolutions, probably gonna be the best experience. But again, these little mini PCs and these APUs inside are getting surprisingly powerful. And that is really cool to see. Now, do make sure, if you're thinking about buying one of these, that you actually want a mini PC. Because if you did want to build a full-size gaming setup, it is true that for the same price, you can probably get better gaming performance. This is based on a recent build video that I did with a few minor adjustments to price changes since then. This is a $637 build. that would come with a full-size graphics card, an RX 6600, which is going to have a lot more gaming power than what we're seeing in a little build like in this little mini PC. But this is going to be in a full-size gaming setup. You might not be able to fit this into the kinds of situations you would do with the mini PC, or maybe you're not looking for this kind of complexity. This also doesn't come with the Windows install, and the little mini PC does. So do just keep that in mind, that if you want to purpose build a full-size gaming setup, there's something to be said for that. But if you want this kind of form factor, for example, I'm not going to put a full-size gaming PC in my classroom at work. However, I do have a mini PC, and I'll probably move this one in there, actually. I think I'll take it to work today. I do have a mini PC in my classroom, and it does all of the office tasks, school tasks that I need it to do with absolutely zero issues. And then it also has the ability to play games, which is awesome. You're also in a similar price class here where, would it make more sense to buy a PlayStation 5 or something like that? Well, again, I think for just playing games, and those games specifically, that's going to offer you, again, more performance per dollar. But the little mini PC here is a PC. So if you wanted to build a console to play PC games, this does something that a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox can't do, right? So if you want something that you specifically want a mini PC, I think this one is a great one. Just make sure that what you're actually looking for is a mini PC. I think it has I think the nice little touches on here, like this RGB design idea, the OCulink port for that external GPU upgradability. Again, nice to have features. I didn't have any problems with this specific mini PC, and again, it is very impressive the kinds of gaming performance that does get packed into these little tiny form factors compared to what you used to get out of integrated GPUs. So I think this is really cool. Again, just make sure what you're looking for is a mini PC, and if what you're looking for is a mini PC, I think this certainly looks like an excellent option. Hope you guys found the video useful and or interesting, and I hope all of you have an excellent day.